Welcome back to the weekly top 10 list. In this installment, the top 10 things I want to just skip to the end of, mostly because of impatience. There are things in the real world, my own life, politics, pop culture that I just want to know how it turns out. And let me demonstrate what I mean with my number 10. So, Star Citizen is a video game that if you're a gamer, you've probably heard of. If not, you probably don't know what it is, and that's totally understandable. The standout thing about it is that it is a video game that has raised money for its own development, like collaboratively, like crowdfunding. And it started doing this many years ago. And it raised a crazy amount of money. Hundreds of millions of dollars. And I just want the game to actually come out. There's versions of it that you can play. They've progressively done that. But the full game was supposed to be out many years ago. It's probably just vaporware at this point. It's probably never going to come out. The game, by the way, is supposed to be like a perfect space sci-fi simulator where you can have your character and you can own ships and you can fly around in ships and you can also walk around in ships. And all of this is happening simultaneously. So I could be walking around inside of my ship, flying by another person that's walking around inside of their ship, and it all just works. And apparently, even with hundreds of millions of dollars, it's very hard to make that happen. I put a little bit of money into it, I don't even know, 2013, something like that. And I would just love for it to finally come out. That would be great. I don't follow the process anymore because it was so grating. I did for probably about 2 years. Don't do it anymore. Can't take it anymore. Just want the final thing to come out. So that's an example for you. But here's a personal one, number 9. I have wanted to get back into shape. You know, the pandemic was rough on all of us. It was rough on me too. And this is one where I like the process more than most of the entrants on this list, but I also would kind of like to just be done with it. I mean, not that you can't be done with it. You got to keep doing it, but I just want the product, you know? That would be nice. Save a little bit of effort. Know that it actually happened. That would be nice. I think a lot of people would probably have this one on their list. Number 8 is going to be, this is the slightest variation on the list, and mostly just because I'm going to take literally every excuse while Francesca's not here to talk about the MCU on these lists, but I would like to jump ahead to 10 years in the future, 20 years in the future, just to know, is it going to keep going? And if so, in what form? Like, the MCU is very different now than it was just 5 years ago in terms of all the shows and everything. Is that how it's going to be in like 10 years and 20 years? Are we just going to have had 30 more movies and 40 more shows and it's still great? Like every couple of months you get a new movie or a new show and it's still great. This is one where I definitely do want to have the time, you know, between now and then. I'm just so curious because it is a cinematic venture like there has never been before. There's never been anything this big. And I just want to know how long they can keep it going. Is this going to be like a permanent thing, or is it eventually going to fall out of vogue and people are going to stop caring about superheroes? I'm fascinated to find out. Number 6, though, number 7, is another video game. I think this is the only other video game on my list. And I think far more people are probably going to be interested in this one. That would be Grand Theft Auto 6. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the greatest video games of all time. It's this awesome, complex story about multiple different people involved in crime, where you have this LA that you can run amok in. And it's been out for a very long time. I've played through it all the way, I think, 3 times. And not back to back. I wait a year or 2 between them. But it is just a very long time since that came out. And I want to know what they've got. They apparently are working on this one. So it is going to happen. But I would love to be rolling around in it. I thought about putting the next Red Dead Redemption game in this, because that game was really great too. But we haven't had to wait nearly as long for that. This has been a huge gap, and I think a lot of people are getting really antsy, I think understandably so. To demonstrate how ridiculous these lists can be, I'd now like to mash up moving from Grand Theft Auto to my number 6, which is kids. I would like to know how my kids are going to turn out someday. Bearing in mind that I don't have any kids right now, but I plan to, and I would really like to know what they turn out like. And one of the reasons I think this is on my mind is I've been watching House of the Dragon, and we've gotten to do time jumps where you see how kids turn out. And a lot of them are just the worst. And so I'm curious, assuming I do have kids, how successful am I going to be in raising them to be sane, good, compassionate people? I would love to see that. Are they going to end up rebelling and becoming super religious or conservative or something? Are they going to be better than me, in fact? I want to know which of those future worlds potentially comes, and that's my number 6. Number 5 is going to be far more serious, and it is, I think, a lot of, like, if you asked 1,000 people to make this list, I feel like this would be on a lot of them, and that would be Game of Thrones. I know that the show's already done, right? No, I'm talking about the books, because I started reading the books years and years and years and years before the shows come out. And while I love the show, I do want to know what the differences are going to be, and I would love for George R.R. Martin to finally write the goddamn thing. And by the way, it has been so many years since the last one came out, and the one that he's working on now isn't even supposed to be the last one. There's a very real chance that the last final book will never come out. And I just want to know. I've been reading those books for, I don't know, 15 years at this point, maybe more. I just want to know how it ends and what's different between it and the show. And I don't think that that's asking too much. Considering some of these other ones, like I'm about to move into some stuff about tech that's much bigger, more grandiose. I don't think it's so much to ask for a writer to write his books. But anyway, my number 4 is going to be, this is the most petty, okay? I don't know. Maybe you, dear viewer, are a better person than me, and you wouldn't have anything like this on your list. But I kind of want to just get to Trump kicking it, you know? Just done with the whole Trump thing. It can't be that many years off. So maybe I shouldn't even have this on this list because, like, what do I have to wait? Like 3 years, 6 years at the most? But I just want to be done with that thing. I don't want anybody to do anything to him. I'm talking about, like, you know, old age, like his accumulated lack of caring about his own health and just his whole thing. That'll be good. I mean, look, people are going to ruin it. And by the way, when the day does come, and many of us who have had to suffer through day after day after day of him, and you know, when we know people who died because of his lack of response to COVID and everything, when we cheer, which we will, there will be some in the media who will say, don't do this. How could you do this? This is so uncouth of you to do this. Even though we know everything that happened. We know what those people think about him, but they'll say that we should turn the other cheek or something. I don't plan to. But that's the only petty one. My number 3 is the biggest tech one, okay? And I've talked about it recently in the show. I just want to skip to, we have tons of available EVs. The infrastructure is built up. They're out. The battery tech is now cheaper. They go even farther. I just want to get to that. We're in a pretty good spot. We're in a way better spot nationally, you know, than we were when I leased my first EV many years ago. Like, things are way better off. But a lot of them are still too expensive, and I'm not interested in buying a Tesla. I just want the other companies to get it going. It's coming out. They're like every year, more and more are coming out. This is the closest one, okay? This or maybe my next one. But I just want a diversity of options. I'm not a convertible guy, but I want there to be electric convertibles. You know, I want there to be trucks that are EVs. I want that to exist. I want to be able to order them online. I want us to totally renovate not only our automobile tech, but how we sell them, how we repair them. I want to live in that tech future. I'm not super interested in, like, newer phones, like skipping to better phones or skipping to better video game systems or anything like that. I'm fine with VR not existing, really. I don't want the metaverse. But I do want a mature market of EVs. That's what I want. But now we have the top 2. These are very important, and you're going to be a bit surprised maybe by my number 2 because you'll hear it and then you'll think, wait, why isn't that your number 1? Well, I'll tell you. But first, it is the 2024 election. That is my number 2. We are going to, together, you and I, get through it. We're going to do that. We're going to cover it. We're going to process it. We're going to make sense of it. And we're going to try to influence the process that gets us from here to the 2024 election. And there is going to be so much that goes on during that time, rest assured. But at the same time, this is the best, like, crop of potential progressive candidates that we'll have ever had. I mean, Bernie is individually great, but we didn't have tons of awesome progressives running. We potentially could this time. And I just want to see how it goes. I want to know, is Biden going to clear the path? Are we going to have 1? Are we going to have 2? Are we going to have 5 awesome progressives running? How is the media going to attempt to undercut them? How is the right wing going to attempt to do God knows what? What sort of other crazy candidates are we going to have running? Who the hell is it going to be on the right? Is it going to be Trump that's going to be running? There's so many questions that remain unanswered. And it is going to be our duty to address it on a day-by-day basis, giving you the damage report. But I kind of just want to know, do we finally get justice? Do we finally get an awesome progressive? I would very much like to skip ahead on that. And look, a case could be made that that should be my number 1, but the first one is farther off. So I think it fits the top 10. It's even more substantial, although tied to 2024. I want to know how it works out on the climate. And I would throw in some other stuff long-term, like fascism, but I'll make this one the climate one. I wish I could skip ahead to 2100 and just know, how bad did we let it get? All of these debates that we're having and all the consideration over candidates and everything, how bad did we allow it to get? And the predictions, by the way, the predictions by the scientists, the predictions by the, people trying to figure out politically and socially, culturally, how things are going to develop, how accurate were we? Is it possible that it's better than we thought it might be? Is it possible that it gets worse? Are we rooting around in some sort of post-apocalyptic hellscape looking for old bottled water and batteries? Are we doing that? Are there endless resource wars? Is Florida literally underwater? Does anyone remember what Venice was? And are there any animals? There are so many questions wrapped up in this one. And one of the reasons I'd be perfectly willing to skip to the end is I feel like the process is probably going to be pretty rough. I would love to be proven wrong, but I feel like it's probably going to be pretty rough getting there. So that's the one that I would most like to skip ahead to. It's not as much fun as Game of Thrones or GTA 6 perhaps. It's not as cool as an electric car, but I am curious how it's going to work out with the climate. Anyway, that's my top 10 things I would like to just skip to the end of. I'm super curious what would be on your list. Did any of these win you over? Would you now put these on your list? Is there a different figure that you'd love to just see finally kick the bucket? Maybe you can post that down below. And if you have any ideas for these top 10 lists, especially the solo ones I'll be doing while Francesca is on maternity leave, please post those down below. And I'll see you in the next one. For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.